Hi, welcome to Help with Hannah Jones. I'm Hannah Jones, and I'm answering your questions Dear Abby style. This podcast is brought to you by Little India. This is a beloved, local, family-owned restaurant with 4 locations throughout the Denver area and a coffee shop. Some of my favorites on the menu include the chicken korma, tamarind margarita, and all the samosas. If you live in Colorado, you should make this place a regular stop, and if you're visiting our great city, be sure you don't miss Little India. Visit littleindiadenver.com to find a location near you. And thanks to Dude IDK Studios in Denver, where we are recording. I have a guest in the studio today to help me give advice to you guys. She's a fantastic Denver comic and runs a silent disco show at Beer Stott. It's Erin Rose.
Yeah, woo woo.
Hello, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, yes, I'm so excited. You were telling me before the podcast briefly that you were working with that you had, actually, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, it's different for sure. So, I've been on a lot of weird dates and stuff and a weird dating journey, I guess, just like anyone. So then I kind of told my sister one day, I was like, I'm kind of over the whole dating scene. And she said, you know what you should do if you need motivation or just to recenter yourself. She's like, I have a friend who I met who's a spiritual shaman kind of lady. I think that's the right word that she used. So I was like, okay, awesome. So what she does is a massage you, but then she also clears blockages for your energies.
Like Reiki?
Kind of like Reiki. Yeah, it's interesting. So I had no idea what I was getting into at all. So.
I knew a girl who did Reiki, and then during the pandemic, she did... She did Zoom Reiki.
I don't know.
Which is Reiki is already kind of a stretch because the idea is that you hold your hands above me and you move energy through my body and okay, word, you can totally choose to be into that. I choose to be into Sister Wives personally. but Reiki over Zoom is so far of a stretch.
Oh, yeah. That's just the same thing as what is it? Tarot readings over Zoom. I've heard of that happening before. Those TikTok stories that are this is meant for you, no tags or whatever. And,
and
then it's just super generalized. Anyway.
Okay, so here's my question. So she's moving spiritual blockages through you, out of you.
Yes.
And do you feel in that moment as the spiritual blockage is moved out of you, I'm ready to date a Denver 7 again.
God,
I want to see a small beanie and a big Carhartt jacket. I am ready.
Damn straight. You got to have a 4Runner or a, Tacoma. So, no. So it was a 3-hour experience. And it was so she was massaging you, kind of massaging. And she started on your back because that's your past and that's where you hold on your past. And so she's like, I'm going to gag. And that's just because I come across bad energies and I'm trying to get rid of it myself.
You're joking.
No.
She's gagging at your energy.
I kid you not. She starts and within 20 minutes, she gags 20 times on my back. And I was like, I'm so sorry. What do I do?
Is it hairy back there? Is it moles?
No.
I'm sorry, my back knee is a lot.
It's
because I don't see it back there.
I don't see it, exactly.
Do you ever not realize that you have any back knee at all until you take an ass pic and then you're like, oh no, I've been blindsided.
Exactly. I feel especially when you hit the gym too, that's when it really comes up, and you're like, oh my God, you're either fit or you got back knee, you gotta choose.
100%. Everyone has an appropriate amount of back knee. Yeah. I think there's a line where it's oh, that's actually back knee. Before that, it's that's a couple bug bites.
100%. I think it's some people like back knee. They like the whole pimple popper kind of thing. Not me. I don't like that. But how
when you're in a relationship with someone, you don't pop their shit.
Oh no.
At all?
I'm scared. Someone told me.
Scared of what?
I'm scared
of what's in there.
Yeah.
It's pus. Spoiler alert.
But there's one time that someone was saying, so if you pop anything in your T-zone, you have a lot of blood flow in there that goes right to your brain. And one time a health person, whatever, in high school was you can't pop anything because you could push the dirt further in and then it can get into your bloodstream, go into your brain, and then you die.
That's not true. That's not even a little
But
bit
now
true.
this is what is ingrained in my brain. And I was like, what if that happens?
Bitches get under eye filler. Bitches get filler,
Yeah.
which is straight up like basically plastic,
Yeah.
and they put it right here, right next to their eyeball, and they still see.
And they got a lot of plastic
They
in their
don't
brain
really
now,
go blind
too.
from it.
Yeah.
Every Kardashian can see. I think you'll be fine from popping a pimple.
I just like I would hate to do that on someone else. So like I'm fine to do it. I still do it. I'm not gonna lie, but like to do it on someone
You just
else.
don't want to be the reason someone else dies. Here's the thing: if they did die from that, there's no way they could trace it back to popping a pimple.
You never know. I don't know technology, man. Nowadays.
Well, we know you'll never commit a crime.
Yeah. I won't pop your back knee. I'm not gonna pop any zits on you, and I can't kill you.
She's gagging.
Okay, yeah. Sorry,
moving energy
she's
through your
moving. Back. Okay, and she's gagging really because she's like, you. The last guy you dated, he was so narcissistic and so much, but he was. So crazy. This was like 3 years ago. And then she's like moving through and like pushing on these points that like really hurt, honestly, for a second. And then it like releases. And she's like, yeah, just a lot of bad energy tied to you. And then she all of a sudden out of nowhere, she's like, do you know a guy named Anthony from middle school? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, he had a really big crush on you. And then she keeps going. I was like, okay.
Poor Anthony. I imagine if you had said yes and she's like, go back to him. The universe is telling me. But you said no, so she's like, yeah, he had a crush on you. I don't know.
He had glasses, red hair. It's fine. So Anthony, if you're watching, I'm open. So, anyway, but yeah, it was just like a weird experience. Then she like flips you to your front, works on your feet. Apparently, you store all your fear in your feet. Mm-hmm. So you just gotta work that out.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it prevents you from moving forward. And then like when she started getting to like my chakras in the middle, like I think I fell asleep. It was the weirdest thing ever. I like woke up and then she had like these bowls and I looked at the time and it was like 3 hours had passed and
damn,
that was it. And she gave me a crystal. I keep it in my bag actually. And
did you feel different afterwards?
I felt like a lot lighter and like weird. It was
Do you think it's because you had a midday nap? You woke up, you're like, whoa.
You cleared everything,
but
brother.
It's just because you were dehydrated.
Honestly, it could have been. Yeah. No, it could have definitely just been the nap. But it definitely felt like my inner energies were lubricated.
But it's just because she was stroking your pussy for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. She stopped gagging, thank God. But
yeah, when she got to your front, she stopped gagging.
She's like, okay, thank God. No back knee on the front.
That's insane.
Yeah. So recommend it only for $120 in 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah.
Damn. I don't know how she makes money. It's got to be out of her house, right?
It's out of like a weird studio, and then during the whole thing her grandkids are like running around like in the back. So, like the door is closed but you can like hear them. So anyway,
weird.
yeah, it was a good experience.
That's really dope.
Just try new things, what's the worst that could happen?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, if what you were doing was going on dates with random guys, a weird 3 hours where you get a nap in is better.
100%. Yeah,
because it could be a weird 3 hours where you feel fundamentally worse about yourself.
This is true. That's
the
happened.
alternative.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, I wouldn't knock it. Maybe I'd go again.
Hell yeah.
So
I recently also had a good new experience. Pretty different, I will say. I think I might have had the most easygoing case of bed bugs of all time.
That's my worst nightmare.
Okay,
I'm so scared.
It was my worst nightmare. When I tell you, Erin, I think I was 12 or 13 when 60 Minutes debuted their first ever story about bed bugs. My family watched every episode of 60 Minutes. I saw that episode of 60 Minutes and I freaked the fuck out. I was like checking every Airbnb and hotel I stayed in for bed bugs forever. Then, as I became an adult, I never encountered them, but I had friends who got bed bugs, and that really like fueled, because for them it was like this months-long battle with bed bugs. It was really terrifying. I am pretty clean, and I do like monthly checks on my mattress for bed bugs, but I live in this horrifying apartment building, which we've talked about on the pod before.
I've heard.
And I had this weird experience where like I'm so clean and I spray for bugs regularly on my own, but I have had weird, just like more bugs than I've ever seen in the Denver apartments I've lived on, even though because I've seen bugs and because this place is so gross, I keep my apartment so clean. I ended up seeing someone was working in the apartment directly next to mine on the side of my studio where I've seen bugs. I've never seen bugs on the left side of my studio, only on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And when I took a glance in, it was a hoarder room with full carpet. And I was like, yeah, you clearly have infestations,
Yeah.
and the cracks in my baseboards, the bugs are crawling through on the right side. They die when they get to mine, but like that is of course why it's happening. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I had seen different types of bugs, but never that would suggest that my apartment was infested.
Right.
It's just like, where are these coming from? This is weird. Then my boyfriend woke up with some bites. He woke up with like one bite multiple times. And I was like, and he was like, I think there's a spider in here, because he would always describe it as a spider bite.
Yeah.
And then there was one day several weeks ago where he woke up with like multiple bites. They look just like bed bug bites in a line. I like freak the fuck out. In my mind, I fully go into the mode of like the next 3 months of my life are going to be defined by this hellish case of bed bugs. The weird thing is they never bit me. To this day, I never got a bug bite. I haven't been bitten by a bug since like this summer.
Do you wear like full pajamas to bed?
No.
Oh.
It's just, and I've heard that this is actually kind of common, because when my friends got bed bugs, they were roommates. One of them got bitten a fuck ton. The other never got bit. And that girl's boyfriend never got bit. I just don't get bit. My boyfriend has O negative blood. He got bit the fuck out of them. And I was like so scared. And I was like, I'm going to stay so on top of this. Immediately go get like hypoallergenic mattress, like zip up mattress cover and pillow covers. Trash all of my bedding except for like one warm blanket. Wash everything on high, vacuum every day. I get the like essential oil that is supposed to be the only thing that kills bed bugs. I spray it all over my fucking apartment. It still smells like bed bug spray to this day.
Oh no.
He never got bit again.
Are you serious?
I did all that in one day, and every time he comes over, I put all my bedding in the dryer on high heat, and I vacuum. And I just do that kind of like once every few days anyway.
Yeah.
Never seen another one. And I couldn't really see very many to begin with. I only ever found one where I was like, this is a bed bug.
Yeah.
But he had so many bites that I was worried that it was like a bad infestation.
Lot of,
But yeah, never saw another one. And then the last like 5-7 times he's stayed over, he hasn't gotten bitten.
That's so strange. And you're not like concerned about it being in like your, I don't know how they work exactly, but like in your couch or like any of your furniture?
So I sprayed my couch a fuck ton, and my couch doesn't have like a lot of like folds and stuff.
Yeah.
I was definitely concerned about that, but he never got bit again.
Okay.
I've never been bit to this day, and I've only ever seen one bed bug.
That's amazing.
And the reason I wanted to, for a long time, I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody because they're going to think I'm a gross person. But then I realized like, if I had known that bed bugs can be chill, if you're like diligent and which is not to say that like, I'm not saying that like I had a fine experience with bed bugs because I'm like a morally pure person and I handled it in the right way. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that like, if you see a bed bug, if you are concerned you might have bed bugs, there is not a 100% chance that you will have the most nightmarish 3-month-long battle with bed bugs.
Yeah.
There is a possibility that you have a chill case of bed bugs. No one ever told me that chill cases of bed bugs exist.
Yeah.
And I am telling you right now, because it's your worst nightmare, it is a problem. You should be really concerned about getting an infestation. If you see any signs, be very proactive, because I do think that like knowing how to check for bed bugs will help you. I think that if I didn't have a boyfriend who was getting bitten, I might have had no idea, and the infestation might have gotten to a point where it was much harder to fight. This is a good reason never move into a place with carpet, I will say.
Yeah, that's a good reason. Also, this makes me feel better about like everything, I think. And thank you so much for being brave to tell this story.
You're welcome.
I think that's amazing because, you know, like I always was so embarrassed too. This reminds me. So like when I first moved in, I had the same thing where I had a hoarder on my floor and it was so bad. And he was a creepy guy. Definitely probably hid bodies somewhere in his apartment. He's now evicted, thank God. But I had roaches because of it. And so like having that though, and like having to like talk about it, like it is a thing. Like with people that are over that saw like a dead roach on my counter, I'd be like, yeah, it's a problem, but like it's being fixed. It's okay. Like
It
it's being
is
sprayed.
interesting. I never thought about how much like because when I was a kid, I guess I never thought about like the shame
Hmm.
of like infestations,
Right?
which like shouldn't be shame related because usually the infestation has like way more to do with the history of your building than
A
it does
hundred
with your
percent.
actual hygiene practices.
Yeah.
And also your actual hygiene practices usually have way more to do with like your executive functioning
Yes.
abilities than like your work ethic, you
Yeah.
know? And it just so happens that I am a person who's really able to keep a very clean house because I find it soothing to clean my house. But
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who like are not that way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still very scared. Check your fucking hotel rooms. Check
Done.
everywhere that you ever sleep. If
Mm-hmm.
you have bites, look up pictures of bedbug bites. But if you see one bedbug,
Mm-hmm.
know that it's possible that you are going to have a chill case just like
And
I
it's
do.
okay. That's amazing. You don't have to put your mattress out in the sun or whatever, you know, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good. You know, I used to work at a nursing home too, and then bed bugs would just run rampant sometimes there.
Yeah.
And that's what also scared me.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So, anyway, no, thank you for shedding light on
Bless
this
you.
subject.
Okay, speaking of my apartment, so there are a couple of like listener responses that aren't questions necessarily that I wanted to read on the podcast. Number one, this one is from Synth Nerd. Not a question, but totally hear you on the Greystar apartment experience. I lived in this giant complex in Glendale. I think it's called East Spirit Cherry Creek now, in 2015 and had issues with gray water coming out of the toilet. No free month of rent, but a $50 gift card. Gym equipment rarely worked. Geese thought they owned the turf. Hang in there. Correct. Gym equipment never works.
Yeah.
There are so few staff members for these like two massive buildings. Greystar is the worst company of all time, in my opinion, allegedly. Here's the thing. Allegedly, and in my opinion, if you were to leave a negative review for Greystar as a company or any of the apartment buildings they own and screenshot it and send it to me, allegedly, in my opinion, I would give you a shout out on the pod and hook you up with a discount code for any live show that you wanted to come to that I'm running. If I have a discount code, if a club books me, maybe not, but any show that I'm producing myself. This is an offer in perpetuity. Leave a negative review, allegedly, in my opinion. I'm not sure about the legal ramifications of this. Nothing would bring me more joy than to have my DMs absolutely filled to the brim with screenshots of negative reviews for Greystar fucking property management based out of Austin, Texas. They manage buildings in Denver, so they don't even know what it feels like to live in one of the absolute hellscapes that they have set up. If my washer breaks, they told me I have to call the washer company. They are the worst that capitalism has to offer us. And I would love to see if you run into a Greystar employee in person and you give them a black eye, free tickets. If you just leave a negative review, discount code.
That's a good deal. I don't know Greystar, but like I will keep an eye out for any Greystar employees, you know?
I mean, I think there are so many companies that are all carbon copies of one another that's like massive corporate property ownership, property management that's in another fucking state. And it's all just like so deeply unethical.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a night. I'm sorry. That's
Hell yeah.
hell
Okay.
yeah. If you need anyone to call your washer dryer company, let me know though. I am pretty good at being a Karen when I need to be. So.
I try to walk this weird, I think there's this terrible balance where like I don't ever want to be a Karen. I've worked in plenty of customer service
Absolutely.
roles and customer facing roles. I don't ever want to be that person. At the same time, in the last 2 years, I have learned that many companies are structured such that you will never be treated fairly until you throw a fit. So then the question becomes, how can I throw a fit without being unkind to people whose fault it is not? And that's a very strange obstacle course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I feel like just talking to them and trying to like be true to like yourself so you're not disappointed in yourself later on and being like, I shouldn't have said that or done that or acted that way. That's so fair. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think, yeah, there's a lot of people nowadays too. You do have to like put a little bit of a serious front on. There's a good way to do it, being like professional yet, stern.
Yeah, I have to figure it out. There was and it was addressed on the pod several episodes ago. I was a Karen in a mean way because I didn't think anyone was listening to my messages.
I did hear
and
that.
so I thought it'd be funny if I was just.
Which I would have thought the same. At that point, it wasn't really directed at anyone because you didn't think there was anyone listening. I wouldn't have thought if no one got back to you. I would have said the same thing.
Okay, next listener submission. Hello, I loved you and Calvin. Calvin Reed was on the podcast.
Yeah, I
the
love
car
Calvin.
chat, Are You Two the New Click and Clack, inspired me. I'm a 35-year-old in Connecticut. My Honda Love is a 2016, so newish. We may add to our family, and my Civic may not be spacious enough for 2 kids, 2 dogs, and sports equipment. Also, my partner and son are messy, and I hate sharing a car with them. Should we go from being a 1-car family to a 2-car family? If so, which cars should I consider if we do need a second, more family spacious car? Signed, Funny Foopod Mommy. Thank you for subscribing to the Patreon, Funny Foopod Mommy. Absolutely, you get out of your husband and son's car, get your own space that you can keep clean and nice, get a Sienna from like the 20 teens or something. Siennas last fucking forever and have so much space. I lived out of a Toyota Sienna for like a year and a half.
Dang.
Very pleasant experience as far as living in a car goes. Yeah, really great car. Any follow-up?
I know that I have so many friends that are Honda fans. I came from a Volkswagen family, so.
Ew.
Yeah, sorry.
What the fuck? No one's, Erin, that doesn't even exist. There are Honda families and there are Toyota families because Honda and Toyota are both brands with reputation for being like very easy to repair, very low maintenance, and very long lasting vehicles. Volkswagen has the opposite reputation. You have to fix them constantly. So anyone who has a Volkswagen, you can be someone who's obsessed with like the old Volkswagen vans, but you're not a Volkswagen person.
Yeah. No, we're just Volkswagen. My dad works for Volkswagen. That's why.
Oh, okay.
I was going to leave it.
So he gets the employee discount.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
makes
the
sense.
reason. So we like drove, I drive a Chevy Cruze, so I don't care.
It's like, there's no explanation. No one is a
bad
Volkswagen
cars,
family.
they're not bad cars. I'm not gonna lie, I did read ahead a little bit, and so I asked my dad I was like, Dad, should someone buy like used or new? And I always like suggesting going new or used. Excuse me, used is always good, but like my dad was just like, just tell him to buy Volkswagen. I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. Dad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think I always used to be a used gal, but I know the market has changed so significantly, and now used cars are like overpriced for no reason. So
100%.
it's tricky.
You do have to do your research, I will say, because if you do owe anything like on a part, let's say you do need a new part, I will say General Motors is super backed up, and it takes like 5 months minimum to like get a new part in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my tidbit.
Good luck, bitch.
Good luck.
Alrighty. Before we get into our questions today, number 1, I have shows coming up. Denver, new material show in January. I actually have links up for all of the months for basically into the summer. So it's first Wednesday, and we're doing 2 shows a night, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Go ahead and buy your tickets. In the past, these have sold out fairly quickly, but I'm hoping since we have all of the links up, you'll be able to get tickets to whatever show you want to. But please do get your tickets. Yeah, they were really fun last night. And they're going to be different every single time, 100% different. So if you've been to one, you will have not been to the second one. The only ones that are the same are the 7 and 9 p.m. of a singular night. Those shows are the same. Every month it's different though. Also in January, I'll be in Albuquerque and Santa Fe in February, and I'll be in LA in January. So if you live in any of those cities and you want to get tickets, make sure to sign up for my text list. Number 2, this podcast is sponsored by the Patreon. Patrons have first priority to get their questions answered, and they receive a bonus episode every month, and it's only $3. Please join the Patreon, patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. And number 3, if you want to ask a question to get answered in a future episode, you can find the link to that form in the podcast description or in my link tree on any of my social media platforms. Let's get into some listener submitted questions.
I'm so excited.
Me too. And you do comedy about dating, so I have a couple of questions about dating for you.
Yay.
Here's the first one. I'm a guy in my mid-20s, and I find older women, early 30s to late 50s, super attractive, more so than many my own age range. They got their shit together, have a lot more life experience, and just fun to talk with. I do see these qualities in people my age as well, and I generally hang out with people in their 20s, but I don't feel that pull toward them in the same way. This is something I've liked ever since I was young enough to remember, but hopefully it's not a fetish, ... If you think it might be, I'll try bringing it up with my therapist. Never talked about it before. It would be great if I just grow into this attraction when I hit my 30s, but I've never had the opportunity to date someone in that age range before. I'm not expecting to see a whole new world, but I'd really like to have a serious relationship with someone like that. Is there a way to go about this without making it a thing? What's the best way to approach someone IRL? Do you think this is something I should work on changing? Would love to hear your thoughts, comments, critiques, etc. Love the pod. Thanks for doing this. Signed, Friendly Northern Neighbor. Thank you for subscribing to the Patreon, Friendly Northern Neighbor.
Yay.
Okay. Good for you. I don't think this is a fetish. This is just a type. This is 100% just a type. And I think the question is more so, it's not how to attract women in their late 30s through 50s. The question is how does a Gen Zer or younger millennial end up dating an older millennial or Gen Xer? Mm-hmm. That's a little bit more hard because they're pretty different dating etiquette, because dating etiquette has changed so significantly in the past few years. Yeah. I think obviously, like on apps, you can set an age range, but you asked specifically about IRL. You got to be looking at the wedding ring first and foremost.
That's really important. Yeah.
Right hand, ring finger. There's a custom in elder generations that if you were to approach someone wearing a wedding ring, they would be like, that person knows I'm married. We don't really think that way anymore because no one really gets married in these generations. But,
this is true.
But I feel like in the older generations, they would be very affronted. So make sure you look for that wedding ring.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think honestly, just any woman, from my experience, I feel like any woman will just be flattered. Totally. Don't go about it creepy, obviously, but don't treat it that much differently. At the end of the day, people like to say, like, you know, hey, like, I find you very cool, attractive, fun to talk to. Would you want to get a drink? I think that's perfect.
Older women will be really blown away by straightforward communication.
Absolutely.
And they will not find subtlety to be compelling whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They really don't want to play games or wonder what your intentions are. But I think that if a young guy in his 20s were to approach a woman in her 50s and just be like, I saw you from across the bar. I think you're very attractive. Can I buy you a drink? And get to know you. I think she'd be like, waterfalls.
Yeah, would make her entire night. Worst case scenario, she goes, she's not interested, but she's still super flattered. And then you'll know right away, too, if she's interested in your age group.
Yeah.
I think just go for it. Also, I just want to say, like, I think it is, like, very, I don't know what the word is. Like, I think it's a green flag that, one, you're very self-aware that you're like, I want to make sure it's not a fetish, which I don't think it is. It sounds like it is very much a type. And then, two, like, you're very, like, you have a therapist. That's amazing. Great. Good for you. That's awesome. So in case you want to talk about it, but overall, I say just go for it. Set those dating apps up to like a higher age range too.
And I think you'll most likely have great experiences. Yeah. It's interesting. There's this weird thing. Have you ever talked to a dude? Most dudes, I'd say 70% of dudes, have this one weird story about when they're 14 hooking up with a way older lady. And you have to kind of like explain to them that even though in their mind it was like cool, you have to be like, I'm sorry, you have been sexually assaulted. And that's a really common experience. I don't want to downplay that whatsoever. When you talk to women who are in their 20s about the one time they dated a 50-year-old man, it's usually not a great experience. But every time I've talked to a dude who was in his like early 20s and dated a woman who was a couple of decades earlier, I haven't heard a ton of negative stories.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I actually just talked to someone too. I was on a date like 2 days ago, and he was describing his first time like he lost his virginity, and it was to like someone he was 13 and she was like 17, almost 18. I
Ugh,
know,
see, that's so
disgusting.
bad in my mind.
That to me, not great, but him, it was like that was fantastic. It was awesome.
Yeah. I know how you conceptualize it does impact how it was. But I think there's such a difference when it's like someone who is already fully an adult and of drinking. I think it's kind of like 21 is the age where like all like do what you will.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
It might be icky, but I'm no longer going to it's not like a cancelable offense essentially. Okay. So going back to the question, just to make sure that we answer all parts of this. Go about this without making it a thing. I think just like don't bring up their age unless they bring it up, but I think they probably will bring it up at some point, and you can say, no, I really like older women. I am often drawn to you guys. You guys are kind of my type.
Yeah.
And just use the word type because there's nothing weird or creepy about the word type. I would say that something would be weird is if she was like, oh, I'm married, and you were like, oh, do you have any other friends your age? Like, don't be homie hopping with the 50-year-old women. Don't go to like a wine. Actually, I just thought of the best idea for you. Go to a wine and paint night.
That is such a good idea.
Be the one young hot guy who shows up alone to a wine and paint night. I guarantee all of the older women there will start doing a bit of like, what's this young hot guy doing at our wine and paint night?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And just be like, I'm single. I like
that would be so attractive.
I mean, you would be essentially doing the human version of like a chum jumping into a shark tank. You would be asking to get your dick would get sucked right off.
100%. Yeah.
So it could be potentially dangerous, especially I'm imagining you would end up, the medieval torture device where they strap your hand, both your hands and both your feet to separate horses and run them off in 4 different directions. That's what would happen to you if you went to the wine and paint night alone and told everyone you were single.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know where they're located either, but if you have a town like similar to Colorado, we have Parker, where there's a lot of older women that go to these bars, and it's absolutely easy to hit on them too. So yeah, wine and paint night.
I also think a divorcee is such a good, because you might find yourselves at similar levels of emotional availability. There might be a type of older woman who's like really looking to settle down in a way that you're not quite on that timeline. But if you do find a divorcee, you could dip your toes into, because you've never dated older women before, you could dip your toes and still probably have the freedom to play the field because she's kind of got her own shit going on. I think the best thing that could ever happen for you is if you're hanging out at dive bars, the kind of dive bars that have live music, potentially karaoke, of a Southern persuasion, you will find groups of women celebrating the one that got divorced. She will be wearing a black sash that says, I'm going to chop this guy's dick off, or something of the like. And you will approach that group and be like, what are you celebrating? Can I buy you a round? 4 out of 7 of them will be divorced. Don't go for the most recent one, obviously. She's only been divorced for like a month. She's not ready, and she's probably too drunk to hook up that night anyway. Find the other 3 divorcees. You got your pick of the litter. They do go out in groups, though, and that's, I think the real challenge is that most women of that age group, it'll be harder to know if someone's not married. Most people our age are not married. Yeah. But most people of their age are married.
Yeah, that's true. This is great. This is great advice.
Thank you so much.
I think I'm going to go out. Like if I would ever wanted an older woman,
Where else do you think older women hang out?
Pampered chef parties. Do they still do that?
You're so right. Yeah.
You should throw a pampered chef party.
You should sell LuLaRoe.
Oh my gosh. Dang. Yeah.
Oh God. You should sell LuLaRoe. You should go to what kind of workout class do older women do?
Pilates.
Pilates.
Yoga, gentle yoga.
Gentle yoga. Oh my God, the one young hot guy in a gentle yoga class, what is it called? An
I don't know.
Ashtanga? I think it's Ashtanga, is the gentler, that's more like joints and mobility. That I may be talking about women in their 70s.
I was just gonna say, I was like, maybe that's 30s, 70s. Water aerobics. You gotta, depending on your,
matinees.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, what's that guy's name? One of Michael Bublé concerts.
Michael Bublé or Josh Groban. Go see a Michael Bublé Vegas residency.
Yes.
With a big poster board sign that says, I'm single and I like older women.
Yes.
Go. What was the one I was just thinking of? God, I just had the perfect idea for you.
Oh, no.
I'm so frustrated. Oh, yes. Okay. Go to the airport.
Oh, no.
Find the woman who is managing 3 children, and there's a guy on his laptop that's like 2 feet away from her that is her husband, but he's not helping with the kids. And go up to her and say, do you need any help with these kids? Obviously, you're getting divorced soon. I'd love to be your rebound.
Oh, ballsy. Honestly,
I swear I've never seen more women actively thinking about divorce than in the airport with kids.
That's a really good thing. Oh my God. Yeah. If I was overworked mom and I was like on the verge of divorce and someone came up and said that to me and they're like pretty young and attractive, immediate divorce. I would look back and be like, just don't sit next to me on the flight because we're divorced.
Or here's the thing. Even if the answer is a no, you have gifted that woman the greatest thing you could ever do, because her husband, if he overhears that, she gets at least a week of perfect husband.
At least a week. And then validation too, that like she does need help. Like
100%.
She deserves it.
Actually, in general, if you feel like you see out in the wild a woman in this age group who may actually be married but looks like she isn't being valued or respected in the way that she should be, go hit on her. Because I guarantee that a married 50-year-old woman getting hit on by a guy in his mid-20s will change her marriage.
Entire year is just made. And then even if it's like a compliment too, of just like, yeah, I really think like I just always love your outfit. Like if you hopefully you don't know them that well, I guess, or like at least like complimenting their hair or the way they like did something.
If you see an older couple getting out of a car and like fighting, go leave a note on her windshield that says you think she's super hot and write your number down. You could be changing lives while you're getting pussy.
There you go. What's that term? Is drop the zero and get with the hero kind of thing. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
So maybe don't say that.
That's very old fashioned. So again, it will appeal to the older generation.
100%.
Perfect. Thank you for writing it. I can't wait. When you have your first experience with an older woman, if you take any of this advice, if you figure out how to approach her, please let us know how it goes. You sound absolutely great, and I'm so excited for you. I think that just like a lot of older women don't get any attention in this capacity, and I think that they'll really enjoy it, and I think you'll have good experiences. As long as she's not like crazy. Okay.
We all love a little crazy though,
All right. Next listener submitted question. I'm wondering if you had advice on how to proceed in the early stages of a relationship. I am going on a second date with a friend and our feelings seem pretty mutual and she seems interested, but frankly, I don't really know what to do or how to act on a date. Our first date was a dinner and I think I did pretty well asking questions and keeping the conversation going centered around her. But otherwise, I am really worried about seeming boring or even bored when I run out of things to ask. I suspect I am a little neurodivergent as I often see conversations as sort of unnecessary. I've always had a reflexive speak when spoken to or when I have something important to say, but obviously that's not going to cut it for dating. Specifically, do you have any advice for topics to speak about, how to seem interested, or even things to do on a date? We're in a pretty rural college town, so our formal options are limited. Additionally, I would like to chat with her more over text, but I run into the same issues above. Any advice you may have is appreciated. Signed, David. Okay, so the first thing that I would ask is you say that there's mutual interest. The overarching rule is make sure that your communication seems reciprocal. So within all the advice that I'm going to give you, make sure you're bringing up conversation topics in the same tone and with the same frequency that she is. Otherwise, it could potentially be a turnoff. But within that, assuming that she's asking you questions and bringing up conversation and she seems attracted to you, my first piece of advice would be it's time for a movie date.
Ooh, yeah. Movie date, not a lot of talking going on, but you could chat every now and then. But
first movie date always needs to be in a theater, not a Netflix and chill. That is always a turnoff. But in the future, once you've seen movies together, movies can be your thing. You don't sound like a guy who likes to talk a fuck ton. So don't get into a relationship where you feel like you have to constantly be satisfying her need for conversation. Eventually, like, the way that dating should work is that on your first date, you present the absolute best, most likable, most affable, easy to get along with version of yourself, and you slowly become the most authentic version of yourself over the course of a month or so. And ideally, you find that as you both become a more authentic version of yourselves, you find that you like that authentic version even more than you did the most affable, likable. If you find that you like that version less, that's incompatibility. So if you find that you're consistently feeling like you're doing, like you just don't have enough to say to her, that might not be a problem with you and your neurodivergence. That might more so be incompatibility.
I completely agree with that too. I feel like there's definitely been on dates like where it felt like I was pulling teeth or like trying to make all the conversation. Something along with that too is making sure that you're asking open-ended questions. Sometimes it's easy to have like yes or no questions or like what's your favorite movie. Then after that, so like maybe coming up with fun questions. Like I do have a couple of questions I like to ask dates if something you kind of like hit a rut or like a slow point in the date. So like coming up with fun ones, like oh gosh, see now I don't even have any right now.
I will say there is an article that came out in the New York Times forever ago. It's like how to fall in love in 4 minutes or something.
I've seen
and it's
that.
a series of questions that get progressively more probing. They start off very surface level, but they're all very fun and open-ended and they do really build a lot of trust and intimacy. And go look them up, memorize 3, ask her 1 or 2, trickle them out because they're good questions no matter what. If she recognizes where you got the questions from, she's swooning because bitches love shit like that. That's I am being thoughtful about this stuff.
Yeah.
But also it's like, I think one core part of compatibility is like being comfortable with the same amount of silence, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's some people that I feel like you feel more comfortable with, like in the silence versus others. And like, is it your nerves talking or is it just like maybe you just have to take a deep breath and like you're actually like, it's fine to be silent. It's okay.
So make sure that you're like, half of you is concerned with like giving her the best experience possible and asking questions to that end, and half of you is concerned. So like I would say the like first awkward pause, say one of these canned questions from this New York Times list. Second awkward pause, just sit in it.
Yeah.
See how it feels. See if she comes up with the next question and centers the conversation around you. And you, I think that at a certain point, you're going to have to see, does she ask me questions as well? Because if she doesn't, what you'll find is that like you don't ever find it easy to talk about yourself around her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're so sweet and you're doing all the right things.
Yeah,
Movie dates and activity dates
even
are
live
great.
Music too. Like if you go to live music, like that's perfect, and it is a perfect amount because like not if you don't necessarily want to go to a movie, where you're not talking for like 2+ hours now. Movies are like 4 hours now, but like live music, you can at least have some time to be like, how do you like the music? Great, and then there's no pressure to talk to each other. But then also you're dancing, which is also a different like part of it.
Before the event that you go to that requires no talking, talk a little bit about the event, what you're looking forward to, similar things you've done in the past. Afterward, talk about your favorite and least favorite part.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's easy peasy. That should get you through the whole date.
100%. See, that's perfect. If they don't really like movies, live music, plays, musicals, there's so many things.
Plays, musicals, the fucking ballet.
The ballet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comedy? Eh?
I would say like canned question, canned topics to talk about. I think the New York Times list is a really great place to start, and just make sure. I know I'm like redundant at this point, but do make sure that at the end of the day, you're not so concerned with being her that you're forgetting to figure out whether or not it feels natural and easy, because at some point, as your nerves wear off, it should feel natural and easy to talk to her. And if it doesn't, that's not all on you.
Yeah. Just remember, don't put like all the pressure on yourself, because it also is on her as well. So,
Oh, and also
Oh.
don't feel like you have to make conversation the whole time. One thing that I didn't really realize about dates, you know that famous tweet that was like, chemistry is hot when hot people have nothing to say?
Yeah.
When two hot people have nothing to say to each other. What you don't realize necessarily, because I was such a late bloomer sexually, is I didn't realize that like you can't physically move forward if you're talking the whole time. And so I would be like doing my very best, fill every moment of silence so it's never awkward. And then I would be like, and he never made a move. And it's like, no one can make a move until there's a quiet, awkward pause.
Yes.
The quiet, awkward pause is where sex happens. So if you're worried that there are too many quiet, awkward pauses, it could be because she's furiously attracted to you and is making room for you to give her a little fucking kiss.
Yeah, give her a smooch. Oh my God, yes. The amount of times that's happened where I just like talk over someone and they're just like trying to lean closer, and I'm like, at the end of the night, I'm like, oh shit, they're trying to kiss me the whole time.
Yes.
Whoops.
I've done that so many times. I've been like, why isn't he making a move? It's like, bitch, you won't shut up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will say, if you feel like it's going well and there's mutual attraction there and she likes you, but there's still awkward pauses, especially with the neurodivergent, I almost guarantee you that might be one of the things that's at play. Especially toward the end of the date, toward the end of the day in the car, there should be some fucking awkward pauses. Okay. That's called being attracted to each other.
I love that. I think he also mentioned something about texting more, and I think also, I'm coming from someone who hates texting now, and I absolutely don't like texting. I don't think it's a big deal to like not text either. Like, I think if you just want to like keep it to like, hey, how was your day? And then plan a next date, or just checking in to see how your week's going, and also if you like have any time coming up. Like, you don't have to think of whole ass conversations to bring up on text.
He does say that I would like to chat with her more over text.
Oh, you would like to. Okay.
In which case I would say little games and little jokes. Text is for little games and jokes. Establish running jokes. Send memes.
That's cute.
Figure out what she finds funny. Send her stuff from the internet. Send her TikToks. And play Marry, Fuck, Kill with every 3 things that you can think of.
I love it.
That is the fun stuff, little games and jokes,
especially like during a long hard day at work and stuff. Sometimes it is nice too if you like remember, like if I tell someone that I have a big meeting coming up, and if they text me after and like how'd that meeting go, that means so much to me that you remember.
Yeah,
amazing. So yeah,
absolutely, that's true. I mean, the fact that you're even being thoughtful about it, you're so yards ahead.
I just like want to meet all. They just seem so sweet. Like both like the older lady guy, and then you with the texting.
Well, maybe in 20 or 30 years you can meet the older lady guy.
Hit me up. I got some time, but I'm mature.
I stopped wearing sunscreen yesterday. Trust me.
I'm gonna start water aerobics tonight.
Okay, so on that theme of like neurodivergent flirting dating advice, I pulled this thing from Reddit that I thought was really interesting. Okay, so I am autistic, or at least some form of neurodivergent. I don't really know in what way yet, because it's really expensive to get a proper diagnosis where I live. But anyway, and I have always really struggled with flirting. I'll try my best, but apparently I just come off as generally friendly or just being nice. Quote, my best friend. I have also realized that typically how I flirt is by rambling about something I really enjoy and then listening to them ramble, or I'll just try and be supportive of whatever they're doing and just generally try to spend more time around them. All of which I have learned is also just what most people do when they just want to be friends. Anyway, the main reason I'm here is because I've developed a crush on someone I know, and he's really cool, and I don't want to fuck up and make the same mistakes I've made before. We're both autistic and have really connected over that, and I've really enjoyed the time we've spent talking together. However, like I said before, I'm scared that I'm going to make a mistake, seem overbearing, or just fuck up in some way. So I'd really appreciate any advice you all have on what to do / how to flirt. I have asked some of my friends, but typically their advice is try to be more confident or be more outgoing and just stuff like that, which is not very helpful. So I have a question on someone I know. How do I flirt without friend zoning or embarrassing myself? Relatable. So relatable.
Yes.
And I have a certain theory based on how I've chosen to live my life, which is that like what I find to be flirting will connect with someone else who has the same definition of flirting, and it will be flirting to us. And I'm also kind of at a certain level anti-flirting in the traditional sense, because I think that if you're not someone who feels like you have a razor sharp eye for whether or not someone would ever think of you in that way, if you feel like you're often in the dark about that, I would say that flirting is a dangerous game because flirting is making your intentions known without ever explicitly stating them, which means that it gives the other person no opportunity to explicitly reject you, which means that if you're flirting for more than a few days, then the other person, if the answer is a no, unfortunately, they're in a terrible situation where they have to just try to like vaguely shut you down, knowing how you see them, but knowing that they can't say like no because you never asked them out. I think that if you're not one of those people, and you're not because you asked this question, and this question betrays that you don't always know how people are vibing with you, I would say don't flirt. Be 100% yourself and ask people out, because then they can say no and you can take that no with incredible grace and it won't fuck up your friendship. If you take a no super well, it will never fuck up the friendship. What fucks up the friendship is flirting for weeks at a time, for months at a time, and not knowing whether they're reciprocating or not, and they are trying to give you a no, but they can't.
Yeah. That's actually, oh my gosh, that's 100% accurate. Because so I read this before and I definitely was thinking the same thing of just like flirting. Like, I feel like it is more like nowadays it's better to be yourself, because you can't really like, you'd rather show your like true self to someone and like your friendship and like build that friendship up than like, and then just be straightforward, which I know it really, oh man, like I know, trust me, it sucks like trying to be straightforward and like have it being asking someone, will you go out with me? But you're so right. Like I would rather have someone say no straight up to my face than like me flirting and hoping that it connects with someone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I just think that like there are people in the world who can get away with flirting and who are good at flirting, and they never have any questions about it. They kind of know in the back of their head, I am a person who is good at flirting. They're never insecure about it. They're never questioning whether a person likes them back. Just their God-given gift on this earth is that they know whether people are vibing with them, and they know just how to vibe with someone else. And gosh, isn't that a wonderful thing? I'm not good at that. I'm good at comedy instead. Perfectly reasonable trade-off, okay? But because I'm not good at that, I have just kind of decided that I don't ever want to be the person who's like accidentally making someone else uncomfortable. And I really got to zero down that risk factor.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Oh my gosh. I'm like starting to think of all the like days that I was like actually flirting, but those days are behind me now. I feel like
your worry is like that if you don't flirt with this person and if you don't give them enough to pick up on, that they might have liked you, but they'll never go for you. And we all have those stories of like, I didn't realize this person liked me back until like it was too late.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to be with them during that time period. Those stories are fake. There is a reason that didn't happen. Neither of you had the extremely important ability to start the relationship. Every relationship, a core ingredient is that someone has the ability to start it. So you guys were incompatible by virtue of the fact that neither of you started the relationship.
Yeah.
So it was never going to be, it's not something that could have been. You guys would have just been two betas. Like you didn't go on a date. You couldn't have fucked because that same thing would have followed you throughout your entire relationship, which is that neither of you at that time had the ability to start the relationship. So know that you have to be yourself and you have to hope that you will find a person that you connect with where the relationship gets started.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not brave enough to be that person, flirting is like a hack for that process, I think. It's like the idea that you're going to like cheat the system and figure out whether they like you without having to put yourself vulnerably on the line.
Right.
That hack doesn't exist. That hack is fake. That hack will bite you in the ass.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. I feel like for the right person, you can't really say like the wrong things if it's true to who you are, you know? As long as you're staying true to yourself, like it shouldn't affect the other person where they're like, I'm not going to ask her out because she said hey instead of hi, you know? So batted her eyelashes at me instead of just like hung out with me. So just, yeah, I think, and also I feel like it comes with practice too. I really hope this works out for them, you know, if you just are very straightforward with them and say that, hey, I really like you. I think we should go on a date if you're ready for that. But it does get easier, I think, just like putting yourself out there. Rejection isn't bad. It's nothing against you at all, but it's better to know rather than just kind of like play this cat and mouse game of like, are we not? I did everything I could, you know, like I touched his leg a little, like that should have given him an idea. Anyway, but yeah, good luck with everything, I guess.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was such a fun episode. Erin, where can people find you in the coming weeks? At least 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. Oh gosh. You know what? We are taking a little bit of a breaky poo. Will this come out? This won't come out.
A breaky poo?
It's like a little breaky poo. Just for like holidays and stuff. I run a monthly show called Loggers at Laughs, like you said, at Beer
In
Stat.
Denver, Colorado.
In Denver, Colorado, in Rhino. And it's a silent disco style, but we're going to be starting that up again end of January. So look for that. It's last Friday of the month. Otherwise, we might be doing another show. So Helen Dreesen, Caroline Williams, other comics in the scene, and I are throwing a
Fun.
Yeah, so exciting. We're putting a show together. It's called Love Bites, a dating profile roast. So
Love.
we will be having that. The first one is next week, so this is probably going to come out afterwards, but hopefully we'll do more. So keep a eye out for that.
What's your social media?
Oh, social media is Erin Rose 95.
Sweet. And I'm at Hannah Jones Cool on every platform. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
Yay, thanks so much. Bye.